So over the weekend, Elizabeth Warren, a lot of other congressmen, senators, media personalities put out tweets just like that one, saying that Donald Trump and Elon Musk are doing everything that they can to make it harder for seniors to get their benefits. I just can't accept that as fact. I have been working in and around the Social Security Administration office for my whole career, and over the last decade, we've probably helped more than 1,000 people file and receive their benefits. Everything from a single divorced mother to a 35-year-old widow. We've seen most scenarios and most people's benefit calculations. I can tell you, it's never been an easy process, and it's one that is very misunderstood. There's so many different options and so many different ways people can file that they largely trust either someone that they've seen talk about it or, a friend, and they go and make their decision. But what I want to point out is that nothing in that process has changed recently. This process has sucked for a long time. It's not been one that's fun. And even the online process is cumbersome and very, very hard to operate for someone who hasn't done it before. We filed with clients last week, however, and there's no new issues with the website. There's no new barriers to entry. There's no new topics that pop up that make this any harder. It's just not a process that is enjoyable or fun to begin with. And so I want to take a look at not what my opinion is about the process, but what the actual facts say about what Senator Warren is saying. And I can concede that there are some barriers to applying that make the process not that fun or that would prohibit seniors from doing it. But it is not a problem that is created by Donald Trump or Elon Musk. It's a problem that has existed for decades. I've tried to call Social Security personally over the years, and I've learned my lesson. Most of the time, I stay on hold so long that I get frustrated and I hang up and I go try to find the answer myself. And so if I've done that hundreds of times, I can only imagine how people out there doing it for the first time on their own feel. I've made a career out of teaching people what their options are, how to file and attain them, and what the different ways are for them to do. And you can go into an office and file for your benefits, but don't expect that person that's in there to give you any specialized advice. They're trained not to. In the employee training handbook for Social Security employees, it says don't provide specialized advice. Only answer the questions that you're getting. Now, I'm paraphrasing there, but that's essentially how they're trained. And it's a liability issue. They don't want to give someone advice and have it be wrong. I understand. I don't have to worry about that. Anyway, I make jokes in my workshop all the time, in-person workshops with real people about the lack of assistance people can expect if they go into a Social Security Administration office. Everybody, to a T, regardless of political affiliation, age, it doesn't matter. Everybody understands that it's a joke because it's like the DMV. You go into that Social Security Administration office and you better be prepared to wait. On his way here today, one of our associates drove by the Social Security Administration office in Port St. Lucie, and there was 40 people or more standing in line waiting to get in before it opened. I have to imagine it's largely because of senators like Elizabeth Warren and others getting on TV and saying that Social Security is getting taken away. But in reality, the process is exactly the same. It's not easy to use. It does need to be overhauled, and it needs to look something like that should exist in 2025. But Social Security is operating in 1975. They're still processing applications by hand. They're still doing things on paper. And while I get it, there's some fraud concerns. There's some issues that need to be addressed with taking things online. 75% of these recipients are already filing online. We're spending a disproportionate amount of our budget on in-person and phone applications when 75% of applications are done online through a system that is not efficient or easy to use, or, it's clunky. It sucks to use it. That's why people come in here and have me help them. But let's look at what the facts are. If I wanted to call Social Security over the last 20 years, here's what my wait times would look like. So let's see if this is a now problem, if this is something new. Let's see, right? The average wait time if I called Social Security in 2010, 10 minutes. The average wait time if I called Social Security in 2013, 10 minutes. The average wait time if I called Social Security in 2018 had doubled to 24 minutes. 2019, 19 minutes. By 2022, we had gone to the average wait time being 32 minutes, and in 2033, we were closer to 40-minute average wait time if you called the Social Security Administration office. In 2025, before the phone systems were largely taken away for applications, the wait times were only 13 minutes. And that doesn't sound like that long of a time, but let me tell you what could be done in 13 minutes. You could create for yourself an account on login.gov, get them to send you a text message. Now, I know that this is also a clunky system. Login.gov has to send you a text message to authenticate yourself to the Social Security Administration website. On that Social Security Administration website, they're going to send you another text message code that you have to enter in order to get into your Social Security portal. That's 2 different passwords and 2 different codes that we've had to enter to get onto this online portal. And then from there, you can do your application all in 13 minutes, which you would be on hold before you get a real person on the phone anyway. And so this is not a new problem. This is an agency that runs like it's 1975, and it needs to be brought into the technological age that we're in. But we're not doing a very good job of that. But it's not Donald Trump's fault. It's not Elon Musk's fault. It's these senators who have the ability to make legislation and make changes, and they've largely done nothing, which we've talked about the do nothing approach in a different video. Offices have been getting cut across the country for decades. Just from 2011 to 2016, we closed 70 offices. People aren't using them as much. A disproportionate amount of our budget goes to these offices for rent and staffing. And so if less than 20% of our retirees are using this facility, it's outrageous to me that we're dedicating so much of the budget to it. And we're going to get to what those budget numbers are in a minute, but don't go that far. Okay. 75% of all Social Security apps happen online. All right. And for fiscal year 2024, that's 3.5 million apps total that are processed by Social Security, meaning only 850,000 of those apps are collected in person or over the phone. And I get it. That's a heck of a lot of people that need help. There's 1,200 offices spread around the country with more than 50,000 employees. And we pay $600 to $700 million annually just for rent in those offices. Now, I don't know who owns them. I guess I could look that up. It's not important to me. But Social Security Administration is paying $700 million of rent, I'm assuming, to some other government agency in order to occupy those buildings. Salaries for field offices specifically tied to staff in physical locations that directly support field operations are $5 to $6 billion annually. People that work in those offices and those offices cost us somewhere between $5 and $7 billion annually. That's 25% of the entire operating budget for the Social Security Administration office. And that's just in-person offices. And we have a 40-person line out the door in Port St. Lucie because of it. So don't tell me this is a new problem. This is a problem that's been going on for a long time. People, A, don't want to go to the locations. They're mad when they get there, and they're not having a good experience because they're having to wait in lines of 40 people even though they made an appointment. Phone services is a whole nother issue. So phone services cost an estimated $800 million or 4 to 5% of the total budget. Even less people file on the phone, but Social Security Administration doesn't want to admit what those numbers are, so they just combine in-person and phone applications all into one blob of a stat, so we can't separate it out. So the total for physical offices and phone offices, which again handle less than 20% of all applications that come in, is $3.1 to $4.8 billion based on conservative estimates, and that's 20 to 31% of what the total administrative budget for Social Security is. We're dedicating 30% of our budget to something that less than 20% of people who probably feel forced to use it are using. But it gets worse. So 75% of our people are already applying online. Our total IT budget for SSA administration in 2024 was only $2.1 billion. We're spending less than half on our IT, which is where most people get their benefit, and we're spending way more than that for in-person offices, salaries, and rent. Tell me where that money's going, because it's not going to the beneficiaries of this program. Imagine if we spent that money instead of on in-person locations or terrible phone service, which again, going back to a couple of years, we had a 40-minute wait time and we're spending this much of our budget on phone service. Imagine if we spent that on IT, making it a more streamlined process and a more protected process so people didn't have to worry about fraud. That would be a real way to make people have better access to this benefit, not getting on social media or on the news channels and saying that Social Security is getting taken away. That's bullshit. Give us some real answers like, hey, we're going to dedicate more of our budget to the way that real people are using this service, not the way that we have fictitiously made it in our mind. Elizabeth Warren has no clue about Social Security. I guarantee you she didn't file for it herself. She's not going to wait in line at the Social Security Administration office. She doesn't get it. The problem isn't that we don't have enough staff in these offices. The problem is we're investing our money in the wrong spot. We're investing 30% of our budget to a place where less than 20% of our retirees are trying to access it. How does that make sense? And how is that Donald Trump or Elon Musk's problem? They didn't create it. They're not the ones that create the rules. But senators like Senator Warren and Senator Schatz are the ones that do get to make legislation. They do get to make the rules. And so if they have problems with this, let's address the actual issues and not just get on TV and spout some shit.